I thought in my brain, they are going to think that I'm going to switch out. Because I have to switch out, right? And so they're going to belly drum. So I'm not going to switch out. And now I'm left with an interesting conundrum. I have 6 Pokemon, and I can choose 3 of them. This is the water type form of Cinderace. You can see it's like Cinderace if you got Cinderace, compressed him down using a hydraulic press, and then forced him inside of an Easter egg. So in week 5, I accidentally brought the wrong team to the match, but I won anyway, but it was pretty close. I had Solar Blade Ogerpon in a team with no sun. I had Growth Comfey against a team with no sun. It was a travesty, and I was playing on the edge of my seat. This week, I made some changes to the team. These are the only changes I will make. After week 6, you can't make any more changes, and so this was kind of my last chance, and I decided, let's switch some things out, right? Let's ditch Go-Goat and Volbeat, because they kind of suck. And then I decided I wanted Orthworm. I really need a Steel type, because I'm just suffering from poison so badly. Like, every week I'm like, I can't deal with poison, I can't deal with poison, I can't deal with poison. So I thought, no, I am just going to take the hit, get a Steel type. And so I dropped Volbeat and Go-Goat and got Orthworm. The problem is, Orthworm costs 8 points in the draft. Go-Goat costs 4, and Volbeat costs 2. So you can see if I take Earthworm, I'm at a 2-point deficit. But Orthworm was really the Steel type I wanted. It's got a ground immunity, which is nice for Sneasler, because Sneasler baits in ground type moves. It has Spikes and Stealth Rock, which is really good. And it's a good physical wall if I don't want to bring Mandibuzz. It has its problems. It's got no reliable recovery. It's pretty weak. Its special defense is bad. So it's not great, but it's better than Go-Goat, and it's much better than Volbeat. What did I do? How did I get around the point total? Well, I dropped Ogerpon, which is controversial because I've bought Ogerpon every single week, and it's definitely one of my best Pokemon. It has been one of my best Pokemon. Thing is, Ogerpon has been making it really hard to bring Rillaboom, because they both do kind of the same thing. They both are like these big, physical grass-type attackers. Ogerpon has a lot of good things going for it. It's been my only hazard setter so far. It's got Spikes. It's pivot, it can sit up, it's really good. It's won me weeks, right? When it encored that Annihilate in week 1 or 2, that basically won me the game on the spot. But it's got so much overlap with the rest of my team. Again, it's weak to poison. It's a grass type. I just felt like I should let it go. I also betrayed Ogerpon in week 5, right? I told it couldn't come to fight its rival Munkidori, and then it came and saved the day. But there's a bit of a schism there. There's a bit of a falling out. I'm not sure Ogerpon wants to be on the team anymore. So, I let Ogerpon go. And I've got Squirm, Orthworm, Dendrodrylis, Squirm, who's a wonderful Pokemon. I love worms. Worms are one of my deepest passions. As you know, I'm a wasp scientist. I study wasps. But it wasn't always that way. In fact, when I first started out, it was earthworms. It was the worms of the world that had my attention. Now, not just earthworms. There's a huge variety of worms in nature. They're everywhere. Most things are actually worms, I would say. They, as you can see on this image up here, they have a tube within a tube body plan. So they have an external tube, which is like their skin, and then the internal tube, which is their gut, which goes from mouth to butt to anus, and carries food, right? And then in between the external tube and the internal tube, you put all the tissue and the organs. And that's a worm. There's lots of them. I love them. I didn't end up working out my worm science dreams, but I'm not unhappy to be called a wasp scientist. I just like worms too. So here's what Orthworm does. You can see its stats are middling to bad except for defense. It has a fairly low BST. When the BST is under 500, it starts ringing alarm bells in your head, because 500 is like not that great. Starters are like 520, 530. 480 is pretty low. But the defense is nice, and the utility moves are good. Stealth Rock, Spikes, you can do Iron Defense Body Press, you can Curse Up, you can Coil, you have Earth Eater, which is a good ability. It's a defensive Pokemon, defensive hazard setter. It's pretty straightforward. It's better than Go-Goat. And I can Terra it, The Tera types I chose were Poison and Fighting. I find myself regretting Fighting quite a lot. Even now, having played weeks 6, 7, and 8, I've never used Tera Fighting. And I wish I had Tera Ghost, because it makes you immune to Fighting, which Steel's weak to, and it blocks Rapid Spin if someone tries to come in and Rapid Spin your spikes away. I went Fighting for the stab body press, which makes sense, right? You want to do a lot of damage with body press. But I feel like, in hindsight, you need that defensive typing to make Orthworm good, because that's one of the main things it has going for it. It's okay, though, because Tera Poison is great. It's just like all these Tera Poison Levitators, where being Poison type with the ground immunity is just really good. You're only weak to Psychic, and Psychic is not that common. The other good thing about Poison is that, while you get a lot of resistances, you're still resistant to Poison, which is important because my team's weakness to Poison. You still can't be poisoned, and you can just Tera Poison and then start clicking Iron Defense or Curse, and then clicking Body Press. It's pretty nice. It's a pretty good Pokemon. Now, the second question is, what did I sacrifice Ogerpon for? Arcanine Hisui is what I chose. Now, my devoted viewers will remember that in the draft, initially, I was looking at Arcanine Hisui because Fire Rock had a really nice resistance profile for my team in particular, because it resists Flying, Poison, Ice, and Fire. Those are the 4 big weaknesses, at least I used to have on my team. The only types that do that are Fire Rock and Water Electric. And I took the Water Electric type. I took Lantern, but that was because there was no Arcanine Hisui available. Someone else had taken it. But since then, the person who had Arcanine Hisui has dropped it and made it available. So I snatched it up. I think this Pokemon is really good for my team. It's worse than Ogerpon. It is worse than Ogerpon. But we knew it would be. That's the price I pay for taking Orthworm. It's not much worse, though. Ogerpon is 15 points, Arcanine is 12. So they're pretty close. Here it is. Here's what it looks like. It has Rock Head plus Flare Blitz and Head Smash. That's its headline feature. Really, really good. Very, very powerful. Give it a choice band and it will annihilate things. It also has a bunch of other good things going for it. It has really high BST, 555, far better than Orthworm's measly 480. It has extreme speed, which is a great move. It has close combat, which is a great move. It can also do a utility thing. It's got Stealth Rock and Morning Sun for longevity. And Intimidate and Flash Fire are both usable. Most games I'll be bringing Rockhead, but there might be a team that I face where my opponent has a really strong Fire type attacker, or they have things I need to intimidate down, and then I can bring a more utility-based Arcanine Hisui. So I'm very happy with it. I was very happy with it at the time. I felt like a genius, and I think it has proved its worth. And now we'll quickly look at my team's new resistance profile, and then we'll look at the team my opponent is bringing for this week's battle. Here is my updated team. We have Sneasler, Rillaboom, Ursaluna, Hatterene, Arcanine Hisui, Mandibuzz, Lantern with Tera, Comfey, and Squirm with Tera. And right away you can see this looks so much more balanced than my prior team. We don't have any glaring weaknesses. We have no Pokemon with more than 3 with weaknesses to something, whereas before we had 5 weaknesses to Poison and Flying. Now we just have 3, and in fact we have more Poison resistances than we have weaknesses, because we've taken off 2 Poison weaknesses and we've added 2 resistances. We also have a Steel type now, and just having a Steel type makes me so much more resilient against, like, everything. It looks much, much better. Now, it's not without flaws. I mean, our Steel type can't really take special hits. A resisted special hit will still do a chunk to Earthworm, and it can't heal it off. But from a purely sort of academic, outside of the context of the battle perspective, we look so strong. We look so much better than we used to. I'm very happy with the changes. Here are our new speed tiers. We're slower. We are slower now. Arcanine is over here at 306 when Jolly Max, whereas Ogerpon was up here at 350. So it's significantly slower than Ogerpon, and for really fast things we kind of only have Sneasler now. But I don't mind that too much, because we do have this Trick Room thing going with these Hatterene, Ursaluna, strong, slow characters. Earthworm is slightly slower than Go-Goat. Go-Goat was up here at 258, and slower than Volbeat, which was at 295. So overall we've reduced our team speed, but I don't mind. Arcanine is still fast enough to hit things that are slow, and it's not bad with the Choice Scarf if we need it to go fast. So all in all, I'm happy with the changes, but they're untested, and it is quite late in the game to be trialing something new. So, let's find out how it went the first week, shall we? My opponent's first Pokemon is Darkrai. I've been having crazy dreams lately. Nightmares, and wacky dreams, and dreams where I wake up and I need to write this down because that was so intense, and then I forget immediately. I don't know, I've been sleeping a bit fitfully. Maybe it's because my opponent bought Darkrai. The timing is awfully coincidental. I fight a Darkrai and my dreams go crazy. Maybe I'm in danger. So here is what Darkrai does. It's pretty great. 600 BST is our benchmark for really good. It's our pseudo-legendary Pokemon, it's our strong legendaries. It's great. If you have 600 base stats, you're very, very happy. And they're well distributed for Darkrai. 125 speed is really nice, you're outspeeding most things, and 135 special attack is phenomenal. It's not the strongest thing ever because its moves are fairly low base power. They're all like 80 to 90 base power, so it's not hitting as hard as something that can click those really strong physical moves like Close Combats and Brave Birds and stuff. But it's got enough special attack that it will do a dent, and it's got ways to boost it. It can Nasty Plot, it really likes Choice Specs because it can use Trick, and it's got nice coverage. Dark Pulse, Ice Beam, Sludge Bomb, Focus Blast. It's like a good set of 4 moves to run if you just want to be an all-out attacker. The ability is also interesting. Hard to use now that Dark Void is nerfed into Oblivion, but I will need to watch out for my opponent using sleep moves on their other Pokemon, then they can switch Darkrai in and get free chip. And as you can see from the item selection, Darkrai is very unpredictable. It can run a huge number of items, it's got a huge number of sets. It has a bunch of good physical moves as well. Physical attack stats are only 90, which is pretty bad. But you never know with Darkrai. I mean, it's got Swords Dance, it can do some crazy things. I'll have to keep my wits about me against this monstrosity. In the chart above, I'll be putting my opponent's defensive profile. When I put Darkrai on, I mean, it's what Darkrai is weak to, the top bit will get more interesting as we add more Pokemon, and we can start to identify flaws in my opponent's structure. For now, it's Darkrai. He's got some weaknesses, he's got some resistances, it's just a Dark type. Offensively, Dark's pretty bad against my team, so these boxes down here, over there, I think that's where they are, for you, because it's mirrored. So for me, they're on that side, but for you, they should be over yonder. The boxes down the bottom, wherever they are, they represent how well Darkrai can hit my team with its stab. So, it's only got Dark-type stab, it's a monotype. I have no weaknesses to Dark at all on my team. 3 of my Pokemon resist Dark, and so Darkrai doesn't have a way to hit them super effectively, and the other 6 are neutral to Dark. Darkrai's coverage is really nice though. You can see Ice and Fighting look great against my neutral hits, and Poison is really good for my fairies. It has to run Psychic for Sneasler if it wants to beat Sneasler, and Psychic doesn't help with any other Pokemon, but it can do that. It just, because it can only run 4 moves, it does run into 4 move slot syndrome a bit. But I'm going to have to be respectful of that possibility. The only Pokemon I have that it doesn't have coverage for is Lantern. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe Lantern could be my special wall this game. Next, my opponent drafted Latias. Latias is also really scary. It's another big legendary Pokemon. Also has 600 BST. It's worth 1 less point in the draft than Darkrai, so Darkrai's at 18, Latias is only at 17. But it's still a very, very strong Pokemon. It has interesting stats. It's pretty fast, it's pretty strong, really specially bulky. If it clicks Calm Mind, it just is so hard to stop with special attackers, so you kind of need to bring physical attackers against it. It has some really annoying stuff it can do with recover and agility and stored power. It can just start to set up and snowball, and if you give it a couple of free turns, it will just get unkillable and then one-shot you with its draining kisses and its stored powers. And sweep. It likes weakness policy. It's one of the few Pokemon that like weakness policy, and that's because weakness policy boosts stored power so much. Weakness policy gives you +2 to special attack and to attack, and for every bonus to a stat you have, stored power goes up by 20. So if you're a Latias and you get hit by a super effective move and activate your weakness policy, your stored power instantly goes from 20 base power to 100 base power. If you Calm Mind as well, or you Agility as well, it's 140, and it's very, very scary. And the thing with weakness policy is, it's pretty easy to proc, because Dragon Psychic is kind of bad. It's weird, you have a lot of resistances. You have resistances to all of the elemental types, fire, water, electric, grass. You resist fighting and psychic from your psychic component of your type, and you have levitate to resist ground. Thing is, you also have 6 weaknesses, which is a lot. That's 1/3 of all types you're weak to. But you're bulky, so you can usually survive a hit that you're weak to, and activate your weakness policy. It's a bit gimmicky though. It's one of these Pokemon where its best set is really good sometimes and kind of useless. Other times, it's like a feast or famine thing. Offensively, it doesn't look that great either. I don't have anything weak to Dragon. I only have Sneasler who's weak to Psychic, and I have 2 Pokemon that resist both Psychic and Dragon. So stab-wise, Latias doesn't look that strong. It does get a heck ton of coverage though. Look at that, it gets every coverage move you could want. It can hit Ursaluna with Grass Knot, with Ice Beam, with Aura Sphere. It can deal with everything, except for Comfey. It doesn't have a move to hit Comfey super effectively, because Comfey is weak to Poison and Steel, and it has neither of those. So you might think Comfey is a pretty good check to Latias. The problem is, Comfey is a special attacker, and it's just a bit weak. It's never killing Latias with Draining Kiss. I don't think it's even two-shotting Latias. And Latias can Calm Mind and recover. So Latias kind of beats Comfey, as long as it's on full health. If it gets worn down by something else, Comfey can revenge kill it pretty well. But, yeah, I don't know, Latias looks pretty rough. Next, we have Lucario. Lucario is interesting. It has these mixed attacker stats. 525 BST, but most of it is in its attack and special attack. It's kind of squishy. It has some good things going for it, though. It has really good stab moves. It gets close combat, it gets Aura Sphere, it gets Bullet Punch, it gets Meteor Mash. And it gets Sword Dance to boost them. It also gets Extreme Speed, and I think Extreme Speed is actually the thing that Lucario really has going for it at the moment. It's not very good in Scarlet Violet. I've never seen it in OU, and I haven't played the lower tiers that much. But I know that one thing that it can do really well is Terra Normal, Silk Scarf, Extreme Speed. This is kind of a similar thing to what Dragonite does in OU, where you boost your attack with Sword Dance or Dragon Dance, and then you Terra Normal and you click Extreme Speed and you just sweep with that really strong priority. Lucario can do that too, and my opponent has chosen to make it their Terastallized captain with the Terra types of Ghost and Normal. And that Terra Normal is what I'm scared of. There are a few interesting things about the type chart now. We can see that Latias and Darkrai have these 2 shared weaknesses to Bug and Fairy. And these are their 2 heavy hitters, these are the 2 high point Pokemon. So the fact that they share weaknesses is nice. If I can find some Fairy type Pokemon, or some Bug type move, probably U-turn, that I can spam, it forces out their offensive threats. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on these 2 types, offensively. On the flip side, they have 2 grass resistances and no grass weaknesses, which is annoying because I'm a grassy terrain team. So, okay, maybe Pokemon like Rillaboom aren't going to be so necessary, just because they match up well into my grassy glides and such. They also have this double fighting weakness that's coming on, and importantly, even if they Terra Normal with Lucario, they keep the double fighting weakness. But of course, it's still early days. you have to have between 9 and 11 Pokemon on your team, so they're going to have 6 to 8 more after this, so we shouldn't start counting our chickens before they hatch. Lucario's offensive profile looks so much better than Darkrai's or Latias's. Those last two were looking a bit mediocre. Lucario looks phenomenal. 5 out of my 9 Pokemon are weak to either fighting or steel, and the other 4 are hit neutrally. So I think Lucario is just really good. The other thing is, if you look at what Extreme Speed is doing with that normal type damage, I have 2 resistances, Orthworm and Arcanine. However, they both just die to close combat from Lucario, so it's looking really hard for me to stop Extreme Speeds. And yeah, it can hit everything it wants to, if it wants to. Do I like Petrarunt? I don't know. To be honest, I look at Petrarunt and I don't even understand what I'm looking at. Like, the design is so confusing. I can't figure out how it attaches, like, these big orbs. Are they ears? They're like... I think the idea is, like, there's a peach, and the peach is opened, and Petrarunt is, like, the seed inside the peach. I think that's how it works. But it's just a bit beguiling. I don't really know what I'm looking at. And its stats are beguiling too. It also has 600 BST. It's a legendary. It's very strong. But that distribution is weird. 88 in everything except for defense. It's kind of like a better Orthworm in terms of stats. But it's strange. It's got the same typing as Gengar. Gengar's type is pretty good. It was better when it had Levitate, but it's still pretty good. And then it's got Poison Puppeteer and Malignant Chain. So whenever it poisons something, that thing also gets confused. It's really annoying. It can recover and Parting Shot, so it's a good kind of defensive pivot that with longevity that can keep coming in throughout the game. Malignant Chain is pretty strong and pretty spammable, because it has a 50% chance to poison, and so confuse. Yeah, Petrarunt is good. It's good. I don't have much experience with it, because it was kind of the last Pokemon to release in OU, and the time I was playing most OU was the start of Indigo Disc, so when Gouging Fire and Long Neck, you know, the Long Neck guy, Gouging Fire and Long Neck dropped, I was playing quite a lot. By the time Petrarunt came out, I wasn't playing so much, so I don't really know how this thing goes. I'm a bit inexperienced. It looks quite scary. The physical bulk is intimidating, and the move pool is really annoying. Defensively, it is another Grass Resist. It's pretty good across the board. So Grass just looks pretty bad. Like, am I really going to bring my Grass-type Pokemon? I think Ogerpon looks pretty bad. So I'm glad I don't have it anymore. But Rillaboom looks pretty bad too. Yeah, it's not thrilling. Offensively, it's okay. Beats Rillaboom, beats the fairies. Can't hit Ursaluna. In fact, really can't hit Ursaluna. Ursaluna's immune to Ghost. Resists Poison. And at this point I was thinking, oh, if I give my Ursaluna a Covert Cloak, what are they going to do to me? Because Malignant Chain will do like 15% if I give Ursaluna some special defense EVs. My opponent will probably try it, because if they get the poison, my Ursaluna will lose eventually. You know, they'll Malignant Chain when I switch Ursaluna in, and then they'll Parting Shot out, and once I get poisoned, I'll be on a timer and I'll lose sooner or later. But with Covert Cloak, they can't poison me, and so my Ursaluna kind of just walls their Petrarunt and threatens to one-shot it with Earth Power. So I like Ursaluna a lot into Petrarunt, but then again I like Ursaluna a lot in all ways. And then its coverage is pathetic. It only has Dark, Foul Play, Dark Pulse. I don't have anything weak to Dark. So it's running basically Malignant Chain, Shadow Ball or Hex, and then probably Parting Shot Recover, maybe Destiny Bond if they go crazy. At the halfway point, my opponent adds Cinderace, Oryctolagus, Phoebe. So Cinderace is a rabbit. Rabbits are really, really interesting animals. If that's there and I'm there, then like up there, I think it should be like up that way somewhere. Up there in the background. That's my old pet rabbit. She was really nice. She was lovely. She got pretty old. She passed away in 2022 and it was very sad. So I've immortalized her here on these PowerPoint slides. It was really interesting having rabbits as pets because they're herbivores, and I just find it a bit harder to understand what they're thinking. With Pod, with cats, I feel like we have a kind of mutual understanding of our perception of the world, but I don't know what a rabbit sees when it looks around. I wish I could, like, spend 20 minutes inside the brain of a rabbit and then get ejected back into my brain but keep the memories. That would, I think, be really fascinating. But I don't have that power, so instead I'm just going to have to talk about Cinderace. It's a 17-pointer. It might be the most expensive of any starter Pokemon, and for good reason. It has good enough stats, offensively distributed, it has really strong moves, Pyro Ball, High Jump Kick, Gunk Shot, and Libero, so it can get stab on all of them. It also has pivoting ability, setup ability, Will-O-Wisp, and critically, Court Change. It shuts down hazards so well. If your opponent clicks Stealth Rock against you, you just Court Change, now you set it up against them. It's a kind of one Pokemon hazard deterrent, rivaled only by something like Hatterene, but with way more offensive power, momentum generating power than Hatterene. It is also a 4th grass resist for their team. They have no grass weaknesses, 4 grass resistances. Okay, grass doesn't look that good. They are starting to stack up on the ground weaknesses though. Ground is looking interesting for me, and I'm looking at Ursaluna and I'm thinking, okay, Ursaluna. So Ursaluna hits these 3 super effectively. It hits both of the normal resistances super effectively with ground type moves. So you can see they're here, but they're here. And although it can't hit Latios with Earth Power, it can hit it with Blood Moon just fine. So Ursaluna, as always, is looking phenomenal. Cinderace looks scary, but not nearly as scary as it would have been last week, because I've now got Arcanine Hisui for a 2nd fire resistance, and this thing is a quadruple resistance. Now, it does have High Jump Kick. High Jump Kick will beat Arcanine Hisui, and it outspeeds, but I have a very, very clever strategy to make Arcanine Hisui beat Cinderace, always, most of the time. We'll talk about that when I get to my team building phase. But suffice it to say, Cinderace's coverage is pretty good. It's pretty balanced. 2 super effective, 2 not very effective, 5 neutral. Add in the coverage moves. It can hit most things that it wants to hit. Lantern looks pretty good again. Lantern's looking really nice into their team. And it can't hit Mandibuzz either. So both of those Pokemon are looking pretty nice. Next, we have another rabbit. Another rabbit. There she is again, my pet rabbit. My opponent is bringing all of the rabbits to bear upon me. And yeah, this is the water-type form of Cinderace. You can see it's like Cinderace if you got Cinderace, compressed him down using a hydraulic press, and then forced him inside of an Easter egg, and then his limbs kind of like squeezed out, his ears stuck out the top. You'd get an azumarill. It's like an Easter egg version of Cinderace. Its stats look horrible. 420 BST is by far the lowest we've seen today. It's one of the lowest you'll ever see in Draft League that is actually worth points, you know? It's really bad. It's the stats of like a middle stage Pokemon. It's like the stats of a Monferno or something. But it's a final stage Pokemon. Of course, we know why it's like that. The answer is huge power. With huge power, Azumarill's attack stat doubles to like here. And being up here is the equivalent of, if it's more than 100, if we stretch this bar out, it's equivalent of like 120, 130. So its BST is like more like 490, 500, I think, if you factor huge power in. It's pretty good. If you don't run huge power, the other abilities are nice, but you kind of suck in every other way. So I would recommend huge power. It has good offensive moves and belly drum. Interestingly, Tickle has usage. So these moves are just their 8 most used moves, sorted into status moves and attacks, and then ranked by usage. And so Tickle is Azumarill's 8th most used move in OU. I guess it's not bad. It lowers their attack and their defense stat. But you don't usually run it. You're usually running Belly Drum, Aqua Jet, Play Rough, Liquidation, or Ice Spinner, or you're running Choice Band and just doing Aqua Jet, Play Rough, Liquidation, and then Ice Spinner, Superpower, or Knockoff. It's a pretty straightforward Pokemon. It can get those crazy belly drum sweeps, or it can just be a wall breaker and do a ton of damage with huge power. Defensively, it's okay. It's adding some new weaknesses to things that my opponent didn't have before. So it's a poison weakness, a grass weakness, and an electric weakness, which means I'm incentivized a bit to bring those types, to bring poison type coverage, to bring grass type coverage, to bring lantern especially. Resists water, beats it with electric, but it certainly has more good defensive features. I think my opponent's been quite clever. I mentioned early on that they had this double weakness to Bug with Darkrai and Latias, they're two big strong Pokemon. But they've made sure that all of their supportive Pokemon, all four of these guys, resist U-turn. So if I go for the U-turn, they have plenty of switches, especially Pecharunt, which 4 times resists U-turn and can run Rocky Helmet. They definitely have ways to punish my over-eagerness to hit them with a Bug-type move. Fairy's looking pretty good. Fairy's looking pretty strong. Again, though, Pecharunt can check it. So if I'm trying to beat these two, Darkrai and Latias, Pecharunt is a pretty reliable switch, I think. Offensively, Azumarill looks pretty strong. I don't have anything at all to resist it, which is scary. Water and Fairy is really nice, neutral coverage. Aqua Jet can annihilate Arcanine and Hisui alone, just because Arcanine and Hisui is 4 times weak. And after a Belly Drum, Azumarill can just tear through my team. I think that the Belly Drum is just really, really scary. The thing is, I can usually stop at Belly Drumming because it's squishy. All you have to do is hit it for half its health, and then it can't Belly Drum, or it can Citrus Berry and Belly Drum. But if I get it low, I've got lots of priority moves to take it out. So I'm not too scared of Belly Drum, but it's still the kind of move where if I make a wrong play on a turn, or my opponent does something clever, I can lose on the spot. Coverage isn't great. A lot of Pokemon that it can't hit super effectively. But I think that's fine. I think that for what it does, Azumarill is pretty good. Next up is Serena. It's a mangosteen, Garcinia podocarpus. I don't think I've ever eaten a mangosteen. They're quite compelling looking fruits. They look quite tasty, and I'm quite hungry. I'm on some medication at the moment, which makes me extra ravenous. So I would actually love a mangosteen. I don't know what the heck this tastes like, but it does look nice, doesn't it? It does look nice. I want a mangosteen. If you want to send me a mangosteen, I won't tell you my address, but if you choose a random address in the world and write mangosteen for Henry Kidd on it, maybe it'll show up here, and then I'll be forever in your debt, and I guess I'll grant you a wish that's within my power, which is not, there's not much that's within my power. And if you wish for a mangosteen, I'll have to say, sorry, I can't do that wish. I want the mangosteen, which would be pretty sad. Don't wish for a mangosteen. Wish for like a shout out in my videos, or else something that like might just happen anyway. Like wish to get a day older, and I can be like, you're a day older, and then you gotta wait a day, and then you'll be a day older, and won't that be wonderful? Anyway, here's Serena. It's okay. It's pretty strong, 120 attack. Defenses are fine. Queenly Majesty is an interesting ability. It negates all priority moves. Really good in doubles, I think, and in singles it's nice. It does shut down my Arcanine Extreme Speed, my Rillaboom Grassy Glide, my Comfey Draining Kiss, and my Ursaluna Vacuum Wave. I do have quite a lot of priority. But none of those moves are the move I want to click into Serena specifically. So all it's really doing is getting a free switch into some of my priority Pokemon. And free in quotation marks, because if I click a different move, it will take quite a lot of damage, because it's not that bulky. Its moves are really nice. Its supportive moves are kind of shallow. It does get Leech Seed as well, I think. But its attacking moves are great. Rapid Spin U-turn is good. That's good enough already. And Knock Off. And then you can just run those 3 moves and a stab move, and you're like, okay, cool, generic moveset. But it also gets Triple Axle and High Jump Kick for big damage. And it gets Bullet Seed, so it can run loaded dice. It's a weird Pokemon. I've never really used it. I've fought it a bit, because it certainly has a role to play, but I haven't really used it myself. Let's have a look at its typing. You can see it's another grass resistance. My opponent is looking so covered against grass types. It is a bug weakness, a third bug weakness, so I am thinking U-turn spam looks pretty good into their team. Even with all these resistances, U-turn's so easy to click that if I can just keep these Pokemon from coming into the field because they're so scared of U-turn, that seems like a win to me. And offensively, it looks kind of terrible. 4 Pokemon resisting grass, 2 grass weaknesses, Lantern and Ursaluna. Now granted, these 2 Pokemon are looking really nice against their team, so maybe I do need to be worried about Serena, but I'm not that worried. The coverage is good. I mean, you can hit these 2, Arcanine and Squirm, with a fighting type move. You can hit these guys with the ice type move. You have that psychic type coverage with Sneasler. It's fine. Can't really deal with the fairies, but it will beat Comfey anyway, one-on-one because of Queenly Majesty. Yeah, I think Serena looks totally fine, but not spectacular. Okay, coming into the final few Pokemon, this is where we start to see some lower pointers, some weaker Pokemon. And here we have Gligar. Gligar is a wonderful guy. He's kind of a pseudo-scorpion. He's like a flying scorpion. Pseudo-scorpions are some of my favorite weird animals. They're like little scorpion-y guys. They're arachnids. They are tiny. They crawl around. They're everywhere. They've got these big pincers. But they're so tiny that you wouldn't even know they existed. Gligar's story is kind of a tale of tragedy. Because when I first saw that my opponent had Gligar, I thought, oh no, it's like Gliscor but worse. But Gliscor is really good. So surely Gliscor but worse is still pretty good. Like, okay, its base stats aren't great, but they're higher than Azumarill's. 430. They're decently well distributed. Its physical bulk is usable with a Violite. And then I looked at the abilities and I was like, wait, where's Poison Heal gone? It doesn't get Poison Heal. It has Immunity. And Immunity is so much worse than Poison Heal. It's not even funny. Because Poison Heal heals you for twice the amount of leftovers for a start, which is great. Secondly, Poison Heal kind of gives you immunity to all status, because once you're poisoned and healing from it, you can't be burned, you can't be paralyzed. Whereas Gligar can't be poisoned, which means he can be burnt and he can be paralyzed really easily. The offenses are terrible, 75-35. The defenses are kind of okay with a Violite. So you're really relying on these utility moves. U-turn, knockoff, spikes, stealth rock, toxic. That's good. That's passable. Is it enough to make this Pokemon worth a team slot? I don't think so in most cases. But there will be games when it's good. And I can see why you'd want it as a backup Terra Captain for the games when Lucario isn't going to be able to do the job. So ground flying is just a really solid defensive typing. We see that with Gliscor and Landorus. Therian is just really good. The offenses are okay. It's hilarious how much Orthworm shuts down Gligar though. Because it's immune to ground, resists flying, Gligar can't really hurt it. Gligar does get some coverage. It can hit most things, except for Orthworm, which it can't hurt. But it's not strong, like it's only got 75 base attack. So even though it can hit most things, it can't hit them strong enough to really make a dent, I don't think. I think that usually if you're using Gligar, you're using it for its utility and its pivoting, and not so much for its offenses. But it's okay. It's got Crab Hammer, it's got Poison Jab, it's got Stone Edge, it's got the ground and flying moves to hit these guys. It's fine. Offensively, it's nothing to write home about, though. Second to last, we have Copperajah, Loxodonta cuprum. It's an elephant made of copper. Copper, alongside silver and gold, is one of those really precious transition metals. They're in the same column of the periodic table. They have very, very similar properties. They're all good conductors. They don't tarnish easily. It's why you'll see copper wires and gold wires. And interestingly, they all also make for some really good elephants. Now, Copperages are the most common elephants, because copper is the most common of those 3 metals. But you can actually get Silverages and Golderages too. And those Pokemon are even stronger, if you can find one. They're very, very powerful. Silveraja has a BST of 550, and Golderaja has a BST of 600. It's a pseudo-legendary. But My opponent only has Copperager with a BST of 500. And most of that has gone into HP and attack. The defenses are pretty bad. The speed is horrific. The special attack is pretty bad too. It's a sheer force Pokemon, so it really likes a Life Orb. But it doesn't have that many moves that benefit from sheer force. It's basically just Iron Head and Rock Slide as its sheer force moves. It can run special, it can run like Flash Cannon and Earth Power, but its special attack is so much worse than its attack that that's not really worth it. So usually you either want a Life Orb attacking set or you want a defensive set to make use of that high HP stat with Stealth Rock and a defensive item. It's fine. It's a fine Pokemon, but it's not anything to write home about, I think. It's a Steel type though, so of course it makes their defenses look crazy. More grass resists, more bug resists, those types don't look very good. I'm looking at Rillaboom and I'm thinking, am I really bring Rillaboom just for Azumarill? Like, it's so bad into everything else. Yeah, I don't know. Copperage's offenses are okay. Gets walled by Lantern and Orthworm, but it can deal with them with coverage. In fact, it can deal with everything with coverage because it has weirdly good coverage. Orthworm it has to beat with Heat Crash, which is based on weight, and Orthworm's pretty heavy, so Heat Crash won't do that much to Orthworm. So Orthworm kind of beats Copperager. You can see Copperager can beat pretty much everything else, and Heat Crash will do a chunk to Rillaboom. Copperager's got Earthquake for Lantern and Arcanine and Sneasler, it's got Fighting. I think it's pretty good. I think that, well, I think it's mediocre, but I think it's pretty good against my team. I think it's better than average against my team. And finally, my opponent's last Pokemon. They've run out of points in the draft at this point, but they've decided they want a 10th. And who do they take? Not Electros, because that's too expensive, but Electric. Petromizon Hiko. You can see it's a Lamprey. Lampreys are amazing creatures. This is the mouth of a Lamprey here, and look at that. It's got these rows of spiked teeth, and this thing just finds flesh, clamps down on it with these teeth, and then just like slurps you up down the tube. Lampreys are fascinating creatures because they are really, really early branches off the vertebrate tree. So if you take a lamprey and you look at it, it's related to fish. Like if you do a sort of branching evolutionary tree, you have like the mammals and the birds and the lizards up here, and then they're all descended as a branch from the fish, so the sharks and the fish and the stingrays and stuff. And then they all have one common ancestor. So all the birds, all the lizards, all the fish have one common ancestor. And then before that, ancestors came around. Earlier in time, there was another branch, and that's where the lampreys come off. And so they're similar to fish, they're similar to eels, but they don't have a jaw. If you think about all those animals, birds, mammals, fish, we have a jaw, right? We can bite. That's like a core feature of our skeleton. Lampreys don't have a jaw. They just have this sucker, which is really alien and really terrifying. They're really cool creatures. I've never seen one, I don't think, but I would like to. And if one wanted to, like, give me a kiss on the face, you know, mwah, kiss on the face, suck off my cheek, I don't know, maybe I let it just out of curiosity for how the creature works. I don't think Electric is doing that, though. It's a middle stage Pokemon. Its stats are absolutely miserable. I mean, that's just terrible. 4 or 5 BST, there's nothing usable. I don't even have data on its moves because no one has used it on Pokemon Showdown in any tier. There's no, like, dedicated NFE tier. And if there was, I don't think anyone would use this. But it's not legal in Little Cup, and it's way too bad for PU. So I don't have any data to get on what moves it can use. I could look at Electros. It's probably just going to use, like, Wild Charge and Bite or something. But it's terrible. I guess you run a Violite, but who knows? It's really bad. We can add it to their defensive profile, because it does have the one gimmick of having no weaknesses. Levitate on an electric type gives it no weaknesses. But who cares? I don't think my opponent has brought this to a game. I don't think they will. I think it's kind of just like a, hey, here's Electros, here's Electric, even, because it's funny. It's a funny guy. Finally, here are my opponent's speed tiers. We have Copper Raja with 1 more base speed than Hatterene, so right down the bottom. Kind of annoying that it outspeeds me outside of Trick Room because it's a steel type and I'm a fairy type and I kind of lose to it, but I want to switch out anyway, so it's not that big of a deal, and it's slower than everything else I have. Next we have Electric, but this Pokemon is unusable and won't be coming to the battle. If it does, it'll just mean the battle is basically a 5v6. Azumarill is slightly slower than Ursaluna, and that is kind of a big deal because it one-shot Ursaluna with Liquidation if it outspeeds, so there's definitely a speed creep war to be had between these two. You can see there's also a lot of overlap between how fast Azumarill can be and how fast Lanturn can be. So if they go like Adamant Max Azumarill, max speed, and come up somewhere around here, I'd have to speed invest my Lanturn quite a lot to get above it. So there are some speed games to be played. Next is Serena. It's slightly faster than Lanturn, which is annoying because it likes to come in on Lanturn. It's also faster than Earthworm and Ursaluna, which is also annoying because it's got high jump kick. Slower than my fire type, way slower than Sneasler. With a Choice Scarf, it is going to be able to outspeed Sneasler. It'll come up to around here, so I have to watch out for that because it kind of likes Choice Scarf. Sneasler beats it, but if it can hit me with a triple axle before I can hit it back, I will take a big chunk. I think Choice Scarf looks pretty good on this Pokemon, to be honest. We have Gligar speed tying with my Rillaboom. I don't mind. I don't think Gligar is that much of an offensive threat. Its attack stat's just too bad. So maybe there's a pivot game who wants to pivot first. It's unclear if I need to worry about it that much, though. Then we have Pecharunt, slightly slower than Arcanine and Sneasler and Comfey. The question to ask myself is, how am I beating this thing? Because its physical defense is crazy. I have Arcanine and Sneasler as my physical attackers. Pecharunt kind of wills them both. Pecharunt resists everything Comfey can do unless I do a bunch of Calm Minds for stored power, but it'll just kill me before I can get enough Calm Minds off. So how am I actually beating Pecharunt? Like, Mandibuzz is kind of too weak. Lanturn can't do anything super effectively. So I'm basically relying on Ursaluna. Ursaluna is kind of my one option. Well, and Psychic from Hatterene as well. But I'm slower and I'm weak to poison. The issue I can see is that both of my good special attackers, these two, are slow, and both of my good physical attackers are fast. So there's kind of an asymmetry there. I wish I had a fast special attacker, just anything that could hit this guy super effectively and outspeed it. Because I don't, I'm quite worried about Pecharunt. Then we have Lucario. This is really interesting. It speed ties with Arcanine Hisui, exactly. They both have extreme speed, so their extreme speeds speed tie. They both resist extreme speed as well. And they're both weak to each other's stab, and they both get one-shotted. So my Arcanine gets one-shotted by Lucario's Close Combat. Lucario gets one-shotted by my Arcanine's Flare Blitz. So I think there's a huge amount of incentive to invest in speed on both of these Pokemon to force the speed tie, or to win if the opponent doesn't do the same thing. It's pretty scary, and I think a game that comes down to, does my Arcanine outspeed their Lucario? It's like more likely than you might think. So I'm definitely going Jolly Max on Arcanine, or giving it a Choice Scarf. And then they have Latias and Cinderace as their really fast things. Faster than everything except Sneasler. If I had Ogerpon, it would speed tie Latias, but Latias resists grass and fire anyway, so I'm not that sad to have dropped it. And then Sneasler outspeeding Cinderace by 1 is great. Sneasler still faster than most of their team, except for Darkrai, the true speed champion of this battle. Way faster than anything else. Really threatening, really scary. I need some kind of priority or speed boosting Pokemon to overcome this thing. Thankfully, I've got both quite available. I have lots of priority, extreme speed, Grassy Glide, Draining Kiss. I have ability to speed boost. I have Choice Scarf Pokemon that like Choice Scarf, like Arcanine and Sneasler. And of course, I have Unburden, which will make Sneasler's speed go up to like here, and nothing else will even come close. So that's the speed. Here are my overall rankings from the outside of how much I think each Pokemon can do. So, in last place, Electric. It's just bad. I give it a 1. Then, coming up a bit, Gligar and Copperajah. Both of these Pokemon are okay. They have niches. I mean, they're both Stealth Rock setters, so they're not the worst. But I don't think they are phenomenal Pokemon. They're just fine. Then, coming up again, 5, I think Azumarill and Serena. Serena is really consistent, but doesn't do anything that great. And Azumarill is either really amazing or totally useless, and there's not that much in between. I think that neither of them look like that big of a problem, but they are worth considering when I'm building my team. Next, we have Latias and Cinderace. They're both strong. In fact, they're both 17 pointers. But Latias doesn't match up that well against my team, and Cinderace is... I'm not doing like a hazard stack thing, so I'm not ruined by court change. And I don't mind Fire that much anymore. Arcanine Hisui is pretty good. Lantern's pretty good. These guys are probably coming, and they are probably threats, but I'm not quaking in my boots about them. And then, finally, the top guns. I'm giving Darkrai, Pithran, and Lucario all 8s. Darkrai because it's amazing offensively, Pithran because it's amazing defensively, and Lucario because I think it can do some crazy sweeps. It's got good coverage against my team, and Terra Normal Extreme Speed looks really, really threatening. So, my predictions for what team they'll bring are these 5 Pokemon, plus either Serena or Azumarill. I'm leaning towards Serena slightly, but it's pretty close. If I saw either of these, I won't be surprised. These 3 would be the surprises. I don't think we're going to see Gligar, Copperajah, or Electric. And that's it. So that's my opponent's team. In the next part of the video, I will go through my team building process step by step, so you can see what's going on in my brain. I'm not perfect. I'll make mistakes. That's part of the fun. If you see something, if I say something and you're like, Henry, I don't know, that doesn't seem quite true, you're probably right and I'm probably wrong. And you'll get to see, come the battle, how wrong I really am, or how right. Now, I've already played the battle. I already know what I'm going to do. But I'll walk you through what I was thinking as I was building my team. So the first thing I did is I kind of made a brief sketch of how I expected the matchups to go. This is before I did any calcs, so there could be mistakes in here, but this is just at a glance which Pokemon I thought were good. So a minus means my Pokemon loses to their Pokemon. So for example, Sneasler loses to Darkrai because Darkrai is faster and it has a Psychic move, which will one-shot Sneasler. A plus means my Pokemon wins, so Sneasler beats Lucario because it's faster and one-shots with close combat. There are cases when these can be flipped on their head, so if my opponent's Lucario Swords Dances and Terra Normals and Extreme Speeds and my Sneasler is chipped, it'll win. If my Sneasler procs on Burden, it'll win. But in a kind of neutral scenario without any setup or extra things going on, this is the way I expect the matchup to lean. Equals means I can't evaluate it, or neither of them win and they just kind of sit there making their own kind of progress. So, for example, Ursaluna versus Lucario is very EV dependent because Lucario outspeeds and doesn't quite one-shot if I EV my Ursaluna to be bulky. Ursaluna one-shots with Earth Power unless Lucario Terras, but Lucario probably does want to Terra, and then it doesn't one-shot with Earth Power, but it'll still do a chunk, and then it can hit with a Super Active Vacuum Wave, so maybe it wins. It gets very complicated. Some of these I just am not sure. And then some of these, like Lantern here, it'll beat Pithran, but it's forced to Terra to do it, because Pithran can Poison Lantern and wear it down, but if I Terra Steel, suddenly Pithran can't hurt Lantern. Lantern just walls it. That's the idea. And then these numbers on the sides are how many winning matchups there are. So Ursaluna has 8. It's only really losing to Azumarill. That's pretty scary for my opponent. whereas the electric down here has 0. It doesn't beat anything. And so we can use this as a kind of heuristic guide to where I want to start when I'm thinking about my team building. The other thing to bring up is the rankings I gave in the last part. You can see how they compare. So electric, I gave it a 1, and indeed it has no wins. Some of them are interesting. So Copperaja actually gets wins against 5 of my Pokemon, and I only gave it 3 points. So maybe I'm undervaluing Copperaja. But it is important to look at who Copperaja is beating. It's beating my fairies, my defensive Pokemon, but it's losing to all 3 of my big offensive attackers, Arcanine, Ursaluna, and Sneasler. So it's worse than it looks on just because of who it's losing to. But it is like better than I gave it credit for, I think, back when I hadn't really planned it out. You can see that there's other Pokemon that have 5, so Pitrunt looks scary, Latias looks scary, Cinderace looks scary. Lucario and Darkrai are both at 4 only, whereas I gave them 8s in terms of threat. But that's because when they set up, they get scarier. So, okay, maybe a neutral Lucario, a neutral Darkrai isn't that scary. But if they Swords Dance, if they Nasty Plot, now I'm worried. So don't take the grid as like a be-all, end-all deciding who's best. It's just a way to visualize kind of who's really useless. Similarly, like Lantern looks pretty bad here. It only has a few winning matchups. But I was saying, like, I thought Lantern was pretty good. I still think it's pretty good. It is let down by its base stat, so it's not as good as I thought it was. It just kind of dies to things. It can't do enough damage back. Yeah, it's not, like, phenomenal, but I think it is still good. I think it's still worth bringing. So looking at the grid, we have our winners, right? We have our big 3, Sneasler, Ursaluna, Arcanine. They have the most points, the most kills, very, very scary. And then we have some losers. Comfey and Rillaboom are just not really doing enough. Lantern is really not doing enough. But to really figure out who we want to bring, what sets we want to bring, we're going to have to go to Pokemon Showdown, load into the team builder, have a look at the calcs, really try to talk ourselves through the steps. Let's go there now, shall we? Here we are in Pokemon Showdown, and our job is to take our possible options, who I have all loaded into a box here, and narrow them down to 6 Pokemon, and then figure out their moves, figure out their EVs. Now, I'm recording this in the future. I already know what team I ended up with, but I'm recording this so far in the future that I can't remember some of my thought process for what I was doing. So let's just try to work through it, try to figure out exactly what I was thinking. First thing to do is just figure out what we definitely want. We definitely want Grassy Surge on Rillaboom if we're running Rillaboom. Definitely want Magic Bounce on Hatterene. Probably want Rockhead. Probably want Overcoat here. Lantern, do we want Water Absorb or Volt Absorb? Well, they don't have very many electric type options, so I think we want Water Absorb. Comfey definitely wants Triage. Cool. And then let's have a look at my opponent's Pokemon. So Darkrai, Latias, Pitrunt, Cinderace, Azumarill. These 6 are probably a likely set. Maybe Serena instead. And then these 3 probably not coming. So let's start with Ursaluna. I think we should start with Ursaluna. I'll move it to the top because I'm pretty certain we want Ursaluna. So here's our basic Ursaluna. And what we're going to know is where do we invest, what do we drop? So Blood Moon versus Darkrai is quite an important calc, 75 to 88. I think we want this to kill. I think we always want this to kill. It's very easy to go Modest on Ursaluna. I think Modest is pretty safe. And then we want enough special attack to kill Darkrai in one hit. I think that is a very fair first choice. And you can see that with 252 max special attack, Blood Moon has a 93% chance to kill. I think we want that. I don't think we want to go lower and risk not killing. I'm happy to just commit to maxing out my Ursaluna's special attack. Now, we still have the option of going minus attack or minus speed, depending on if we want Trick Room. But I think that maxing out special attack is a good starting point. The next question is, where do we invest our other EVs? The options are basically, we can invest in speed, or we can invest in defenses. Now, when I was looking at the speed chart, the main speed competition I saw was azumarill. If they have like 20 speed EVs, they outspeed me. I could try to speed creep this. I could go like 12, just in case if they try to just barely outspeed me, I will just barely outspeed them. I could try for that. Thing is, though, I'm kind of thinking about Trick Room, because their team's very, very quick, and this Ursaluna in Trick Room looks terrifying for them. So I think I'm going to leave speed at 0 for now, go into bulk, and then if I change my mind about Trick Room, I can revisit this. So I just had to fix my overlay thing that I'm trying out. So yeah, I'm very happy to go max special attack on Ursaluna. I think we'll leave the speed down. I really like special defense EVs on Ursaluna because its HP and defense are already good, and the special defense can do a lot to make it more resilient against Pokemon like Darkrai. So if I look at Darkrai, you can see right now it's OHKOing with Ice Beam every time. If I pump special defense, it's not coming anywhere close to OHKOing. 73 to 87. I take an Ice Beam easily and kill back with Blood Moon. The other option would be to pump HP, which would also help me against physical moves. But if I do that, because my special defense is so much lower, Darkrai can still OHKO me. Well, it's only 18% of the time, but it's doing way more damage than if I do special defense. And the physical bulk gains aren't even that much, because my physical bulk's already so good. So I really like special attack and special defense as my Ursaluna's EVs. Chuck the last one in defense. This is a pretty standard Ursaluna. It's one I've brought before, but I think I want to bring it this time. I want Blood Moon. I want Earth Power. And then my options for the final move slots are Protect, Calm Mind, Moonlight, Vacuum Wave. These are kind of my options to consider. And then I have lots of options. But as I said earlier, the one that really entices me is Covert Cloak, because this lets me really beat Pitch Runt. You can see Malignant Chain is doing 17 to 20% of my health. It's hardly anything. I can just come in, click Earth Power, it's 83% chance to OHKO. Because they can't poison me, because I've got Covert Cloak, I just kind of win. Now, it makes me think I want Moonlight, because Moonlight lets me just come in repeatedly on Pitch Runt. It's never going to wear me down. So I'm quite liking this moveset. And then up here it's like Protect or Calm Mind or Vacuum Wave. They all have merit. But I'm liking this as a Ursaluna starting point. So the next question is, who else do I really want? I think I really want Sneasler. And then I'm thinking about Trick Room Hatterene. I think Trick Room looks kind of nice. I think that Ursaluna has a bit of trouble against Pokemon like Darkrai, who still OHKO it with Focus Blast if they can hit, and Pokemon like Latios OHKO it with Grass Knot. I think that it has a lot of trouble with these fast things that just outspeed it and kill it. High Jump Kick from Cinderace is doing 76 to 90. But if I can hit them first, I can just kill them. I just one-shot Darkrai, one-shot Cinderace, one-shot Pitch Runt. Don't one-shot Azumarill, but come pretty close. If I can outspeed, then I'm kind of golden against a lot of their team. So I'm thinking, as a core strategy, I want to do Trick Room. The other thing is, I was going to do Trick Room in week 5, but I didn't get to. So let's try it here, shall we? And my policy with Trick Room is you have to make sure you're actually attacking. Trick Room and then like Healing Wishing or Pivoting as your only option is so slow because you only get 3 turns with your attacker. So I want modest max attack, and we're just going to go all out. We could still run Healing Wish as an option, and then 2 damaging moves, Psychic, Dazzling Gleam. Or we can just run 3 damaging moves. And then we can't run Choice Specs, because it doesn't work with Trick Room. Just lock us into Trick Room, which is terrible. So Life Orb is what we want. Either Life Orb or Focus Sash. I think Focus Sash has a lot of merits. It guarantees us the Trick Room. They don't have any multi-hit moves that can kill us. I don't think Serena's Bullet Seed, if I put Bullet Seed into the calc. So you can see a 5-hit Bullet Seed is only a 6.3% chance to Oko. And that's really their only way to eliminate Hatterene through Focus Sash in one shot. They could also taunt with something like Cinderace. That's a risk, but I think it's unlikely they'll try that because it can backfire so badly if I just click a damaging move. So I really like Trick Room. I really like Focus Sash. We're going to do something like this. Hatterene has such low HP that it's really efficient to boost its HP. So we'll boost its HP to an odd number so that we die in. So that we can take 9 Stealth Rocks instead of 8. Niche, but who cares? And then chuck the 8 into our defense. And we get something like this. And then we probably want Quiet, because we're doing Trick Room, so we want to be as slow as possible. So, yeah, there's a tentative set. Now, Sneasler. What are we doing with Sneasler? Let's have a look. So the problem with Sneasler is they have 2 Pokemon which like hardwall it. They've got Gligar, which shuts me down, and they've got Petulant, which really shuts me down. I can run Throat Chop, but even that's like pretty weak. They'll just beat me. They can Parting Shot. They can heal more than I can do in damage. If I run something like this with Swords Dance, it's okay, but even like a +2 Throat Chop isn't doing enough to Petulant. They can Parting Shot to lower my attack, they can Malignant Chain, confuse me, they can recover. I have to find a turn to get the Swords Dance off, and that's not easy. And even if I do that, I get walled by Gligar. They just kill me with high horsepower. They've got all this strong priority. They've got Aqua Jet from Azumarill. They've got Extreme Speed with Terra Normal from Lucario. I just don't think I'm gonna... And they got Sucker Punch from Cinderace. I don't think it's going to be easy at all to get myself into a situation where I can sweep with Unburden. So, I would rather run a choice item. I would rather run, or I guess like a pivoting item, but I'm thinking a choice item because I want some kind of damage and speed control against these really bulky things like Petulant and Latias. So if I take these boosts off attack and put on Poison Touch and give myself a choice Scarf, we can have a look how that looks. Close combat. Give ourselves some U-turn. And U-turn, remember, is really good because it hits Darkrai for 65 to 77 and hits Latias for 61 to 72. So, and it does punish to Serena. It's resisted by Lucario and Petulant, but that's fine. U-turn's just nice. It hits both of these things so hard, and it's the freest thing in the world to click, especially with Choice Scarf. With Choice Scarf, I will just outspeed Darkrai and do 1,000 damage to it with U-turn, or kill it with close combat. So I really like Choice Scarf. Choice Band is also really nice. If I put Choice Band on, suddenly I have an 81% chance to Oko Darkrai with U-turn, which is hilarious. We could get into a scenario where they lead Darkrai, I lead Band Sneasler, and I would just one-shot them with U-turn. Thing is, with Choice Band, they now outspeed me if they're Jolly Max. And so Psyshock will just kill me before I can hurt them. It's good against Latias though. Threatens to Oko Latias, 43% chance. I outspeed Latias naturally. That's really good. I actually really like Choice Band. And, critically, 50 to 59% of Peturunt's health. This thing beats Peturunt. It 2-hit KOs with Throat Chop. And I think Peturunt is going to be their switch-in. So if they switch Peturunt and I click Throat Chop on the switch, they have to switch out because I'll kill them with a second Throat Chop. Well, they might have leftovers, and then I don't. But if they're not running leftovers, then that's really good. So I decided I wanted Choice Band Sneasler. And the moveset is pretty straightforward. Throat Chop because it hits Latias and Peturunt. Stab moves, Close Combat and Dire Claw. And U-turn. And then I went max attack, max speed with Jolly to hit 372. But you'll see, all I need to do is outspeed Cinderace. I can't outspeed Darkrai. I want to outspeed Cinderace. It hits 370. So I don't actually need 372. I need 371. So we can drop 4 EVs in speed and then chuck them into defense. Here we go. Choice Band, Poison Touch, cool. So with that, I kind of have 3 movesets. There's a few things to change I forgot. As long as moves, I need to double check the EVs on Hatterene, but these 3 are my core. And now I'm left with an interesting conundrum. I have 6 Pokemon, and I can choose 3 of them. And I have to decide who I don't want. So when I first looked at Comfey, I thought it was great, because I can run Choice Specs, and with Choice Specs, my Draining Kiss into Darkrai does 76 to 90% of its health, and that's with priority. Darkrai's Life Orb Sludge Bomb does 79 to 93. So Comfey beats Darkrai. Great. It also kind of beats Latias. They're both weak to Fairy. But it doesn't really beat Latias. If you look at Draining Kiss, 43 to 51, very, very unlikely to 2-hit KO. Latias has Recover and Calm Mind. Comfey just gets outpaced by Latias. Now it can run Encore, but it's slower by default, so I'd have to speed creep it. It would have to not be max speed. I think Comfey, even with a type advantage, is just so much weaker statistically that it ends up being kind of bad. And it has some terrible matchups. It has nothing at all to Cinderace, nothing at all to Peturunt, barely a thing to Lucario, nothing to Copperajah. I just think it looks so bad. I do think I need some kind of priority to deal with their fast things, their Darkrai, their Latias, their Azumarill, shut down these sweepers, but I don't think it's Comfey. So I'm happy to delete Comfey. The other thing that's on my mind is I want to try out my new guys. I want to try out Arcanine and Orthworm. So we can have a look at what they do. Orthworm is good because they have all these poison type options. They have Peturunt, obviously. They have Gunk Shot Cinderace. They have Sludge Bomb Darkrai. They've got Poison Jab Gligar, Gunk Shot Gligar. I think that having a steel type is really important. It is also, by far, my best answer to Lucario if I terrestrialize. So without terrestrializing, I lose to Lucario. But with terrestrializing, Terra Poison, I resist fighting. And with my really high base defense, Extreme Speed doesn't do enough to me. I can shrug on off 24 to 29%. Even if they Swords Dance, Extreme Speed is only 2-hit KOing, and my Body Press Okos. My Body Press with maximum defense investment Okos the Lucario. So I think I want Orthworm. It seems fine, I haven't used it before, but I was really scared of the Lucario in the Team Builder, and here is a solution. It's not a perfect check, because it can't do its job infinitely. It doesn't have healing, it will get worn down. But if my opponent does something crazy, I want Orthworm in the back as a sort of backup, last-ditch sweeper. Item is pretty straightforward. I'm pretty sure I want leftovers. I think that healing is so good on Orthworm, I really want leftovers, and then I just want physical bulk. There would be a case to be made for doing HP and special defense, because it will make me much more tanky overall. But I really want maximum defense for body press, because I want my body press to always OHKO their Terra normal Lucario, and if I go Impish Max, then it will. So I do something like this. I give up beating the special attackers. I'm going to lose to the special attackers. But the physical attackers, so Cinderace, Lucario, Azumarill, Serena, Gligar, Copperajah, Orthworm is a great answer to. For moves, I know I want Body Press. I know I want Stealth Rock. And then I have the option of Iron Defense. I have the option of Heavy Slam, which is quite good into Azumarill. And okay into everything. I can run Earthquake if I want to hit Petrarunt, which is not bad. And I was also thinking I could run Metal Burst. Metal Burst is a weird move. It's kind of like Counter or Mirror Coat, but it works on special or physical attacks. But it doesn't have negative priority. Now, I actually forgot it didn't have negative priority when I was making this team, so I didn't give my Orthworm a minus speed nature. I should have. I should have gone zero IVs and then relaxed. I should have done this, but I didn't because I forgot that Metal Burst, if you outspeed your opponent, just doesn't work. I forgot that completely. That will come up in the game. And yeah, I did decide to run Metal Burst because I thought it could take someone by surprise. In particular, if you look at the Cinderace calc, if they high jump kick me, which they probably want to, I'm a steel type, right? Or they Pyro Ball me, either of those options, they're going to do more than 50% of my health, and then I'm going to Metal Burst, and they're going to die. So Metal Burst always kills Cinderace if they use one of their super effective stab moves. And Cinderace is a great answer to Orthworm on their team. So I was like, I'm a genius, right? I can't beat Cinderace otherwise. Body Press doesn't do enough. 36 to 43, as you can see. And Heavy Slam does nothing. But Metal Burst will one-shot their Cinderace. I felt like a genius. I was like, this is great. And then for my last move, I chose Iron Defense because I wanted to be able to come in on the Lucario and beat them even if they Swords Dance. If they Swords Dance, I Iron Defense. Now we're equal. My Body Press will kill them. It looked really good. The only problem with this is, without Heavy Slam or Earthquake, I can't hit Lucario if it Terra Ghosts, because it's immune to Body Press, and it would have to hit me to activate Metal Burst. But maybe that's okay. I can Metal Burst it. In hindsight, I should have just bought Heavy Slam or Earthquake. Earthquake's pretty good. It lets me hit Pitch Run and Lucario, but I didn't. I brought Metal Burst because I was trying to be clever. I was getting a bit too smart for my boots, I think. Anyway, you'll see how it plays out when we get to the battle. So now I've got these four Pokemon, and I'm thinking, do I need Rillaboom? Rillaboom does some really nice things. If we look at Rillaboom, Grassy Glide into Darkrai is 70 to 86% of its health, and U-Turn threatens to one-shot. Against Latias, knock-off one-shots, and U-Turn does most of its health. Against Lucario, high horsepower one-shots. Against Petrarunt, which you'd think would be a terrible matchup, it is. I can still do a sizable chunk with knockoff, 60 to 70%. I'm going to lose by default. It's in its favor to OHKO with Malignant Chain. But if it's chipped, or I need to just get some damage on it, knockoff is fine. I lose to Cinderace, but that's fine. And then I one-shot Azumarill with Grassy Glide. So if Azumarill tries to do something funny, if it tries to belly drum, whatever, I just click Grassy Glide and it dies. And I'm like, sorry Azumarill, you tried, but it was never going to work. That's the good. The bad is, Sneasler kind of does a similar thing. It is also running Choice Band, it's also running U-Turn, it's also running a Dark-type move. And I don't make too much use of grassy terrain this time around because I'm not running Grassy Seed, Sneasler. The other thing with Rillaboom is it's competing with Arcanine. They're both wanting Choice Band quite a lot. They're both doing big physical damage. If I bring both of them, it's my last two, I can't bring Mandibuzz or Lantern. And I feel like I really want Lantern. And I kind of feel like I really want Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz shuts down Pitcherant pretty well. It comes out on Latias and Toxics it, which is really nice. It can take Darkrai's moves in a pinch, U-turn out, just spam U-turns. If something tries to Swords Dance, if Cinderace tries to Swords Dance or Gligar tries to Swords Dance, it can foul play them. I don't think it's amazing, but I think it is a reliable switch into a bunch of things. Similarly with Lantern, I mean the stats are nothing to write home about, but they're fine. So I'm kind of in the spot of, I've got these 2 defensive Pokemon, I've got these 2 offensive Pokemon, and I have 2 slots left on my team. And I ended up thinking, maybe I don't need Rillaboom. Arcanine's also doing the priority thing, it's got extreme speed. Arcanine has these crazy hit smashes. You can see one-shots Darkrai, one-shots Latias, one-shots Lucario with Flare Blitz, 2-shots Pitcherant, 1-shots Cinderace, 1-shots Azumarill. It just OHKOs everything except for Pitcherant and Gligar. Now, the caveat is I have to hit my head smashes, which is a bit of a scary proposition because it's only 80% accurate, but in return, like, I can just kill everything on their team. Now, there are some interesting things with Arcanine. The first is the speed tie with Lucario, and the second is the loss against Cinderace. Arcanine's main problem is that with its speed, it's slower than Darkrai and Latias and Cinderace, and its speed ties with Lucario. But if I give it a Choice Scarf, yes, it loses some of its power, but in exchange, I outspeed everything. And that's kind of amazing, because I think that they want to bring in Cinderace and click High Jump Kick. But if they do that, I'm Scarf. I outspeed them. I just kill them with Head Smash. They don't get to turn into a fighting type with Libero because they're dead. I see a Darkrai, they want to bring it in to click Focus Blast to kill me. Sorry, I'm faster. I kill you with Head Smash. I see a Lucario. I don't have to worry about the speed tie. I'm always faster because I'm Choice Scarfed. I click Flare Blitz. Even if they're Choice Scarf, they would have to be Choice Scarf Jolly Max to outspeed me. And I don't really think they want that. I think that is a bit overkill against my team because the rest of my team is pretty slow. Like, they don't need that much speed investment. They'd rather have the boost from Adamant, I'm pretty sure. So, I decided to drop Rillaboom. Rillaboom's out. And bring Choice Scarf Arcanine Hisui. My moveset was Extreme Speed, Flare Blitz, Close Combat, and Head Smash. And with that, I had my team of 5. The final question is, do I want Mandibuzz or do I want Lantern? I've got Earthworm, who's handling the physical side. So all I need left is one of these 2 Pokemon to handle the special attackers. That's Darkrai, Latias, and Pitcherant and Special Lucario. Initially, I was thinking Lantern. Now you can see that something like a Mist Ball from Latias isn't doing very much to Lantern, right? 17 to 21, that's a good tank, right? Not really, because I only do 29 to 35 with Dazzling Gleam. That's with max special attack modest. I do 29 to 35, that's the most I can do. And they can recover Calm Mind. And it's like, uh-oh, sure they have to boost up a bunch to kill me, but they like the opportunity to boost up. And they can agility, and I just sit there being passive. I don't think that is a safe Latias check. It's a similar thing with Darkrai. Darkrai is a bit better because I do 2-shot it with Dazzling Gleam. But I just am not strong enough statistically to withstand these strong things. If Darkrai has a nasty plot, it wins. If it gets a nasty plot on the switch, it just beats me because it hits me for... I'll put the nasty plot in. It hits me with Dark Pulse for 56. I hit back for 51 with Dazzling Gleam. It outspeeds and kills with Dark Pulse. So I just thought, no, Lantern's not going to do it. It's too weak to beat these really strong attackers. Whereas Mandibuzz at least can click Toxic, put them on a timer, and let them die. Lantern doesn't get Toxic, doesn't get any way to wear them out. So I decided I'm ditching Lantern, and my final team is this. Mandibuzz, Arcanine, Earthworm, Sneasler, Hatterene, Ursaluna. So, now we just have to do a little bit of refinement. We're going to figure out what Mandibuzz wants. I think we need boots on Mandibuzz. And we run into this ancient problem of Mandibuzz basically has 5 moves at once in 4 slots. I think we need U-turn, and I think we need Toxic, just to stop Gladiath from going crazy. I think we always want Roost, and so the last move slot comes down to Defog, Knockoff, or Foul Play. And when I look at the team, I don't think I need Defog. Their hazard setters are Gligar and Copperajah, and maybe Lucario. Does Lucario get Stealth Rock? No. Okay, so it's just Gligar and Copperajah. Those are both bad. If they bring them, I don't mind. I've got Hatterene anyway, so I don't think I need Defog. And then it comes down to Foul Play versus Knockoff. I'm thinking I want Knockoff. I want to make that guaranteed progress, knock off the leftovers, knock off the choice items. We're going to run Knockoff. So there's our Mandibuzz moveset, and we are going specially defensive. So we want Careful, like so. So here is our Mandibuzz moveset. We can have a look through. Happy with that, happy with that, happy with that, happy with that. And then I got to this point, I saw this moveset and I was like, oh, I don't know if I can run Focus Sash on Hatterene. I think it just makes it too weak if it doesn't have the boost. If I put him into the calc and we look at like Hatterene versus Darkrai, I kill with Dazzling Gleam, I kill Darkrai, but I'm so weak into Latias. Latias can really take advantage of me. I'm not killing Lucario. I'm not coming anywhere near killing Petulant. I just felt like if I set Trick Room up and then I don't have like firepower to back it up, I just felt like I'd be wasting turns. So at the last minute, like minutes before the battle started, I switched to Life Orb. I thought, I don't think Focus Sash is going to be necessary. I'd rather have the immediate damage. For that same reason, I dropped Healing Wish and went Draining Kiss. Because now I've got Life Orb, I'm taking Chip. I thought, I need some healing. I'll go Draining Kiss. So this was my final moveset. Trick Room, Draining Kiss, and Dazzling Gleam, and then Psychic. I didn't think I needed the coverage. Fairy and Psychic hit everything I wanted to hit. So that was that. Earthworm had Tera Poison. And I looked at Ursaluna, and I decided I wanted Protect, because I'm doing this toxic thing with Mandibuzz, so Protect is good. And mostly because they have Cinderace, and Cinderace really likes to click High Jump Kick against Ursaluna. So if I Protect and they click High Jump Kick, Cinderace just collapses in a pile on the ground, and I am overjoyed. So I was like, Protect just seems so funny. It just seems so interesting to be able to Protect. So I was going to go with this set, and then at the last moment, again, I had a look at Darkrai, and I had a look at this Lucario, and I thought, I want Vacuum Wave, I want Priority. I dropped Moonlight. I think it was a mistake. I really like Moonlight on this, actually, for Petulant. I don't think I need the Priority. I've got the Extreme Speed on Arcanine. I think I was partly just feeling a bit exposed now that I dropped Comfey and Rillaboom, my other Priority Pokemon. And so in a panic, at the last second, I put Vacuum Wave on. But that's it. So this here, these are my final sets for week 6 of the tournament. So make your predictions now, folks. Place your money on who you think is going to win the battle. Will it be me? Will it be my opponent? And let me know at the end of this if you would have done anything differently during the team building phase. Maybe stay and watch the fight and then tell me, because the fight might give you some extra ideas. It certainly gave me some extra ideas. I shall say no more. Join me in part 3, where we go over the battle itself. See you there. What did I see when I loaded into the game? Well, the first thing you'll see is that my team is correct. There's no Ogerpon, there's no Comfey. I actually clicked the right team in the team builder, which is a marked improvement from the week before. The other thing you'll see is that Copperajah is here. That's a bit of a surprise. I didn't think Copperajah was coming. And there's no Darkrai. Apart from that, it's exactly as expected. These first 5 are the same. But Copperajah over Darkrai is really interesting, and I wasn't expecting it at all. But this is still my best week for predictions. I got 3 out of 4 of the Pokemon that were left behind correct. Just the Darkrai, I still don't quite understand, but I'm sure that my opponent had a good reason. I guess they wanted some kind of hazards. And Copperajah does beat Hatterene with Steel-type moves, maybe? I don't know, I'd have to ask them. But yeah, that's the overview. Let us now jump into the battle itself. Over to Studio Henry. So I load into the battle and I have a kind of stab of terror because I think, who do I actually lead? I can't really lead Ursaluna like I have in the past because I have these strong fighting type attackers which will ruin it. Latias just looks really scary. At least I can U-turn with Sneasler. They don't have Darkrai with them, so Sneasler is the fastest thing on the field. I should have led Sneasler, I think. Sneasler is a safe lead. It kind of has a play into everything. Can Die Claw, Azumarill, kill Copperajah, U-turn out of Latias and Petrant, kill these guys. Sneasler's good. However, let me give you the context for this battle. I did this battle on my birthday. It was my birthday, and it was about 9 PM for me. Now, I'd spent the day doing all kinds of things. I was given gifts, like, for example, this wolf skull. It's the skull of a wolf, isn't that cool? It's a wolf skull. I can go, hello, I'm a wolf. Hello, I'm a wolf. And such. That's quite good. I was given a t-shirt with some wetters on it, and I was given this. It's a fully articulated possum. Opossum. Not the New Zealand kind, the American kind. I don't really like New Zealand possums that much, but opossums are wonderful. I love opossums. We don't have them in this country, but I wish we did. I know they're like invasive, probably, and bad, but aren't they? Look at this guy. The camera doesn't even do him justice. He's so good. He can move all around. He can jiggle. He's a keychain. He's just great. That was great. So we done that, and I ate so much junk food. It was very sickening in a good way. And then we played some board games and some Dungeons and Dragons, which was great. And then we had some more sickening junk food. And I was just so full and tired. I was in a kind of food coma. And then I was like, oh my god, I have to make my team for this battle. And we'd been having dinner, and because I'm like ethical, we had like homemade hamburgers, but I didn't want to have real meat, so we got 2 different kinds of like vegan alternative meat. We got the Impossible Burger and we got like another one. And then because I'm a frail child, I also can't have bread, so we had to make some fake bread. So I had fake bread and fake meat, and real lettuce, and we had 2 hamburgers, and they were so filling. So I was there like on the living room floor, like lying on my back, like out of my mind, because I was full and kind of saturated with joy and experiences. And then the battle was on, and I was like, oh my god, can I take this? My brother's asleep on the couch. My girlfriend's had to go home because it's late. So everyone's kind of tapped out, and I'm there like groggy and trying to battle. And in my kind of delirium, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do the safe thing and lead Sneasler. I'm going to lead Arcanine, because I thought they were going to lead Cinderace. I thought they were going to lead Cinderace and click U-turn. Cinderace looks like such a natural lead from their team. Like, Copperajah and Azumarill are slow. Petrant's, like, just defensive. You could maybe lead Lucario and try to sweep, but I think you want to save that for later. Latias is a late-game sweeper. You need to weaken my team before you can use it. So I was like, Cinderace is such an obvious lead. If I lead Arcanine, they're going to really want to high jump kick me. They'll be like, yes, I predicted him. I'm going to high jump kick. And then my choice Scarf, Arcanine, will head smash their Cinderace, and I'll be up. 1-0 on turn 1. That was my thought process. I thought I was a genius. Let us watch how it played out. Battle starts. I lead Arcanine. They lead Azumarill. Oh no. My worst fears, right? Like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh my god. I led the worst possible thing. If I did anything else, I'd be fine. I could just click moves. But I just lose to Azumarill. I can't one-shot it with Hit Smash. If I was Choice Band, I could, but I can't. And even that doesn't matter, because they can just click Aqua Jet and I die. So I was looking at this and I was like, I think I have to switch out, right? I think I have to switch out. Azumarill is just too strong. So I was looking at my team and I'm like, okay, well, if I switch to Sneasler, I can take an Aquajet, kill it with Diaclaw. Switch to Mandibuzz, I'm fine. Switch to Orthworm, I'm fine. And then I thought, wait, what happens if they belly drum now? Because I think my opponent's going to look at this and think, there's no way Arcanine stays in, it's going to switch out. I can belly drum, my opponent can belly drum, and if they belly drum, I've given them the freest belly drum imaginable on turn 1. Can they win? And I was like, maybe they can. Oh my god, maybe they can. All of these Pokemon, so Ursaluna, Mandibuzz, Earthworm, Hatterene, and Sneasler, all get one-shotted by liquidation after a belly drum. Now, there's some counterplay, but I was kind of tired and I was like, I lose. If they belly drum, I lose. I thought, if they Aquajet me, okay, I'm down a Pokemon on turn 1. But then I can bring in Sneasler and force them out. And at least there's still play. Like, it's bad, I'm losing, but I haven't lost. Whereas if I switch and they belly drum, I may just lose the game on the spot. So, I thought in my brain, they are going to think that I'm going to switch out. Because I have to switch out, right? And so, they're going to belly drum. So I'm not going to switch out. I'm not going to switch out. I am going to click Hit Smash. And I'm going to kill their Azumarill. Now, they might not die to the Hit Smash, but it does like 80% minimum or something. And I go first. If they belly drum, I hit them down to 80%, down to 20%. Even if they have a Citrus Berry, they don't heal up over 50, their belly drum will fail. And then next turn I can switch out. So if I Hit Smash, I don't kill, but I negate the belly drum. It just fizzles, it doesn't give them a boost, and then we're back in the same spot it was turn 1, but now they can't belly drum, and now I can actually switch out. And I thought, I'm a genius. And if they do Aquajet, okay, my Arcanine dies, but I can force the Azumarill out, I can make some progress. It's a game, right? The game's on. I have to try to stage a comeback. So I thought, this actually sounds kind of great. And if they do stay in for the belly drum, I'm up. I'm kind of winning. Or I haven't won. There's a lot to happen, but it looks good for me. So, are you ready to find out what happened on this turn? This might be one of the most impactful turns of my entire Pokemon career. Ready? I click Hit Smash. I miss. They click belly drum. I was a genius. I want it to be seen that I was a genius, right? 80% of the time, my Arcanine Hisui beats their Azumarill. I would have just killed it. I won. I would have won if I'd hit Smash. 4 out of 5 times, I'm in such a good position this game. I was like, gutted that I missed, because like I thought I was a genius, and I still kind of think I was a genius. I just got unlucky, or, you know. I was hedging my bets. It was an 80% chance to play. I can't be that salty. I could have used a Pokemon that didn't have an 80% accurate move. But I was still like, oh my god, what an insane turn 1. My opponent was like, you're a madman, you're insane. I was like, I know, that was crazy. But now, of course, you can see the problem, right? I was complaining that giving them a free belly drum will let them win the game. Well, I just gave them a free belly drum. I did have a Citrus Berry. If I'd Hit Smash, none of this would have happened. I did Hit Smash, but I missed. So, let's see what happens next. I think I have to just sack my Arcanine now. Just let it die. It's nothing I can do. I'm choice locked into Hit Smash. So I go into Earthworm. I'm like, my Earthworm has really good defense. I'm like maximally defense invested. And I have Metal Burst. I can save the day. They'll hit me. I know I can survive. And I brought Metal Burst. I was a genius. I'll take like 70-80%. Metal Burst will OHKO. Now we're back. Now the game is back. We are even. 1-1. It's anyone's to play for. There was a terrifying situation, but I still have outs, right? I still have Metal Burst. It's okay. Well, I go first, because I didn't give my Squirm minimum speed. So, my Metal Burst utterly fails. If I needed to go 0 speed IVs and minus speed so that he would hit me first. If that had been the case, if I'd done that correctly in the Team Builder, I killed his Azumarill here, the game was still on. But I didn't. So I really shouldn't have brought Metal Burst. And if I'd had Heavy Slam, like maybe something could have happened. But I just messed up again. I go for the Stealth Rocks, because remember, the only damaging move I have is Body Slam, and it does pitiful damage. So I'm thinking, okay, look, if I put Stealth Rocks, maybe I can bait him into making a safe play, switching out of Azumarill, going into Cinderace, and court changing. It sucks. It really sucks. But I haven't lost if they do that, because they don't have a +6 Azumarill anymore. And Body Slam did like 3%, so I didn't see much point in getting that tiny amount of chip. So I'm like, okay, well, Metal Burst failed, Arcanine failed. I think, what's next? And I go into Mandibuzz. Now, Mandibuzz has some capacity to survive Azumarill. I know 3 of its 4 moves. It has Belly Drum, Aqua Jet, and Liquidation. There's a chance it's running Ice Spinner, Knockoff, or Play Rough. I am pretty sure I survive an Ice Spinner. I don't think I survive a Play Rough. So I'm just fingers crossed they haven't brought Play Rough and I can Toxic. But they bought Play Rough. But hang on, that's interesting, because you remember that I said in my video, I bought Knockoff on my Mandibuzz. Well, I thought I did, but somewhere in the midst of like challenging for the battle, my Mandibuzz ended up with Foul Play, which ended up being maybe a saving grace. I was able to do a lot of Azumarill's damage. If I'd actually switched out of my Arcanine and sacked something else, I could now revenge kill this with Extreme Speed. But I was a fool and sacked it. I've been a fool many times in this video. And now I look at my Hatterene and I think, I could have had this. I had a Focus Sash on this Pokemon until the very last moment when I was like, no, I need the power. You didn't need the power, Henry. You needed specifically a Focus Sash so you could survive this Azumarill and then kill it with any move. And then at least you'd be in for a shot. So he clicks Liquidation, crits me, and I die. That's wonderful. Now I have Essaluna, which loses, but I think, oh, Vacuum Wave, maybe I crit with Vacuum Wave. And he Aqua Jets me instead of hitting me with a Water move. And I basically just messed up. I thought that would kill, or I thought he'd click Liquidation, it would kill, and maybe he'd outspeed me. But I know he's really slow because he undersped my Orthworm. So I should have just gone for a Blood Moon. Now I'm kind of screwed. I go for another Vacuum Wave, it doesn't matter. And I'm down 5 out of 6 Pokemon. I go into Sneasler. They click Aqua Jet. I was shocked I survived this. I did not think I was living that Aqua Jet. If I'd known I could live in Aqua Jet, I could have gone into Sneasler the moment that Arcanine died, taken the Aqua Jet, and killed Azumarill. I could have saved Mandibuzz, Orthworm, Hatterene, and Ursaluna if I'd gone into Sneasler first. But when I calced it, I just thought Sneasler died. I don't know if I put the wrong EVs into the calc or they didn't have as much attack as I thought they did. But like, I had another out. I had another option to save me from this if I just gone into Sneasler. But I didn't. I saved it for last because I was sure it just died to Aqua Jet. And I was wrong again. So I click Diaclaw, kill the Azumarill. Okay, I got a kill. Now, who wants to bet whether or not a 9% health Sneasler can kill 5 Pokemon and win the game? Well, Extreme Speed. And I lose. And I lost. That's the game. That was my birthday, how my birthday ended, the kind of final moments of my birthday. I lost in devastating fashion. I played kind of badly. I made a few really dumb decisions in the team builder. And yeah, it just worked out that way. And that's Pokemon, man. Everyone was like being all consoling to me. And I was like, nah, it's all interesting. Like, I don't feel bad losing a game like this. I think it's just like, you're playing the game, you know? You experience it. I thought that was an interesting story. I wasn't able to record because I was a fright. I was in a frightful state playing this battle. And I was down in the main house on the TV screen while my family was asleep. So I didn't want to like turn on a camera and start narrating while like they slept on the couch behind me. So we're doing this post hoc. We're doing it a month later. But it was a game to be remembered. It was really interesting. I enjoyed it. I think my opponent played well. I mean, they played the options they were given, and the options won them the game. Yeah, gosh. So obviously I should have bought Rillaboom. I mean, I know that now. Obviously I should have bought Rillaboom, because if I'd had Rillaboom, none of that would have happened. Grassy Glide just kills azumarill. I could have switched into Grassy Glide, could have switched into Rillaboom on the belly drum and just killed it with Grassy Glide. Like, if I had Rillaboom, azumarill didn't do anything against my team. I should have noticed that, but when I was planning, I kind of thought, well, they probably won't bring azumarill because it loses to Rillaboom so hard. So I didn't bring Rillaboom. Then I did bring azumarill and I lost to it. Yeah, just a confluence of tragedy. But that's it. I mean, that's how the battles go sometimes. It was a good time. Let's go back to Field Henry for the closing statements, shall we? So I thought we should have a look at the standings as of this game. I'll play this little animation and we can see where we're up to. So you get a point every time you win, you don't get a point if you lose, and the top 8 of these 16 teams will qualify for a playoff tournament. I'm in contention. I think I'm fifth or sixth before this battle, but I haven't guaranteed my spot. It's not like a surefire conclusion that I'll get in. So I have a lot to play for in the last few weeks. So here we go. The teams line up, and then week by week we can see who wins. I'm the retarder, of course, the ethical retarders. Keep your eyes on Pyro. Pyro has won every single week so far. So this is where we were before today's battle. You can see I am in joint second place with the Lucarios and the Haxoruses. I've won 4 out of 5 of my battles. Pyro is the only team to win all 5. And then we have the trailing folks down below. Everyone has at least 1 win. You can see there's 5 people at 1, 3 at 2, 4 at 3. So it's pretty tight. Even those people in the bottom heat could still catch up if they play if they get 3 wins in the next 3 weeks, they'll be up to 4. That might be enough to qualify. It might not. In cases where there's a tie, so if 7th, 8th, and 9th all have 4 wins, the tiebreak is determined by kill differential. So how many more of your opponent's Pokemon did you kill than your opponent killed of yours, which we'll talk about when we come to the end and we're seeing who actually does qualify. But we're not there yet. There's 3 more battles. I, this week, was facing the Ursalunas. You can see they're also a pretty good team. They're at 3 wins. They're only 1 less than me. Let us see what happened after this week. There you go. So the Ursaluna moves up. We're now tied with 4 victories out of 6. Pyro wins again. 6 out of 6 wins. Pyro is destroying the competition. Haxorus and Lucario in second, and then I am in this fight for third, this bottom of the top situation. It's pretty close. It's pretty scary. Right now, you can see I'm in the top 8. The top 8 are Pyro, Haxorus, Lucario, Heatmore, Rattata, Ursaluna, Brambleghast, and Grafaiai. And then there are 8 stragglers. But there's still 2 more games. So join me next week as we find out whether I can claim another win, how the standings change. There is something to note, though, about next week. My opponent is Pyro, the undefeated champion. So it's going to be an uphill battle. Pyro has never lost a battle this whole league. They are incredibly strong, incredibly consistent, and they are my next opponent. And if I want to ensure that I make it into the playoffs, I might have to beat them. Join me next week. It might actually be next week. Now that I've got some free time, I might put out 3 weeks worth of videos over the course of the next week or so, depending on how fast I can record them. I have all of the information of the next few weeks. Yeah, so stay tuned in. I have had a lot of fun experimenting with the different formats. I think I'll keep this channel mostly just to these videos. For now, I don't have time to make a whole lot of videos, and I feel a bit bad, like, making random Wasp videos and random other videos if I'm like attracting loyal subscribers who are interested in the Pokemon. So I'll try to just keep it the Pokemon, try to keep it chill, try to keep it non-cringe and non self-indulgent. If I can achieve those two things, then I'll be happy. I think those are what you need to make just a watchable video, right? Like, I don't need a million views. I just want it to be, like, not unbearable to watch, you know? So, like, the audio is fine, the content's fine. You can trust that I'm not going to suddenly start wailing or screeching or give you some weird thing. Just nice, simple Pokemon draft information. So yeah, that's it for me. Thank you all for watching. Merry Christmas to you all. Happy Christmas. I hope it's a good one. And I hope that you get a break too. I hope you guys are done with school, done with work, maybe even just for a couple of days. Get some presents, see some family, whatever you do in your continent. If you're in Antarctica, can you let me know if you're in Antarctica, or if you've been to Antarctica, or if you've just thought a lot about Antarctica? Is Christmas in Antarctica good or bad? I can see the upside. It's snowy everywhere and there's happy penguins everywhere. Those are both like really good things. The downside is there aren't many people, so you're stuck with whatever the Antarctica denizens want to do. There probably aren't actually that many pine trees. Hard to get a Christmas tree because it's too cold. And there aren't many baubles or tinsel. And you probably have to work quite hard to find them. The other thing is Santa lives on the North Pole, and you're in the South Pole, so I don't even know if he visits Antarctica. Does Antarctica visit Santa? Does Santa visit Antarctica? I feel like he probably doesn't, because it would be such an extra bit of the journey. It's not really worth it. I don't even know if there are any children, humans on Antarctica who want presents from Santa. That's a bit depressing. There's no tinsel, there's no Santa. That sounds like it'd be awful. I'm sorry, if you're on Antarctica, my deepest sympathies. I hope your Christmas isn't too miserable, and I hope you have lots of like blubbery friends to huddle with for warmth. In any case, I'll see you guys next time. See ya.